What's happening, guys? Welcome to the Dynasty WarZone and happy Memorial Day. It is your boy, it is Memphis, and I am flying solo on this edition. Before I get into all of that, I want to go back to the first thing that I said. I am recording this live on Memorial Day because yours truly was sick yesterday. I think I ate something bad on Saturday, could not sit for an hour straight without having to leave the podcast. So this one's not on Jerry, this one's on me, but I am flying solo here on a Memorial Day edition. And before I get any further into it, I just want to take a couple of seconds to say thank you to all the men and women who have served, who are serving, or are thinking about serving. Thank you for all that you do for us as United States citizens. And whether you're listening in the States or around the world, if you've served, thank you so much. Today is about you. So what are we doing? No Jerry. Like I said, he was ready to go last night. He wanted to talk dynasty sells with me, but he had to work today, and I just could not have done it last night. It would not have been possible. And so I own that. But the show goes on. We're about 16 hours late, but better late than never. And this one right here, because it is me flying solo, it is going to be a little bit more interactive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the normal stuff. I do have a list of dynasty sells for you. I'll talk about why I'm selling, what maybe I'm looking for in the way of trade compensation. And then, because I don't know how long this thing's going to go, it could go 30 minutes, it could go 15 minutes. But at the end, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, what have you, if you have a dynasty related question and you want to help me stretch this thing out for an hour, I would be super appreciative if you leave your dynasty related questions in the comments of the YouTube chat. I'll go back toward the end and I'll get through as many as I can. I'd still like to do the normal hour of content that Jerry and I normally do. I have got a list. I have probably got 8 to 10 guys that I am looking to sell in my dynasty leagues. And that is based on a multitude of factors, whether that is, I think they're coming off of an outlier career year, and I don't think it's repeatable. I think their rankings at Player Profiler, they're a little too high in the dynasty rankings. So maybe that's part of the reason why I am moving them. Or I don't think they're ever going to hit where people think they're going to hit. So I've got a huge list for you guys of players that like I said, I'm moving on. So this is a one-man show. The one thing I will tell you before we get into it is still rookie season, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of over rookies, and I'm ready to get into some more best ball, and I'm ready to get into some more drafting. I don't know about you. A lot of my dynasty leagues, all of the rookie drafts are pretty much over. I think I've got 1 or 2 left, and I don't want to say I'm bored or I'm played out on rookies, but I'm kind of over it, and I'm ready to get into looking at more veterans. That's where last week came from. That's where this week came from. But if you go to Fast Draft, there is the Origins. That is the rookie promo. You're going to hear it because you hear it every week. We love Fast Draft, and I've made it super simple for you. If you are watching on YouTube or if you are listening in a podcast, I made it the very top line for you. You go into the show description. The very top line is a hyperlink. You go right to fantasydraft.app. You download the app, you get signed up, you can see exactly what all of this is about. And I will get into, I brought back a good people, good tweets. Yep, that's right. Good people, good tweets. But I do want you to hear the Podfather talk about Origins.
It is a damn shame we only get to do a handful of rookie drafts every season. After doing all this rookie analysis, you want more bites at the apple. And that's why we have the Fast Draft Origins tournament. You draft 6 rookies, the top 4 into your lineup. It's best ball style, and it's just $5 to win a $5,000 first prize. So if you're passionate about Taj Brooks or RJ Harvey, get on Fast Draft and use your favorite creator's code to get a $50 deposit match. A $50 deposit match to go make thousands of dollars drafting the rookies that you know and love.
I'm going to be honest with you. That's the first time I've saw that commercial, and I got to be honest. I love that damn commercial. Go get a bite at the apple. Maybe you're not like me. Maybe you still want to be in rookie season and you love rookie drafts. And the one thing I will leave you with as it relates to Fast Draft, you might play on Prize Picks. You may play on Underdog, but I will tell you this, that gambling's all about odds on your money. And with Fast Draft being a newer platform and newer users, you as the experienced gamer have a shot to make more money. I think it's a value. Use promo code WarZone, $50 deposit match. You deposit 50, they'll match you 50, and the average draft is $5 to $10. Jump in there. It's summer. Bring your swimwear. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump right into this, and I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat who's already loading me up with questions. I appreciate it. So I'm going to get through this as fast as I can, and we're going to get into it. But I do want to hit you with a good people, good tweets, and you guys are going to have to work with me on the production value, because normally, like when Jerry talks, when I let him talk, when Jerry talks, I look at the screen, I do my producing, I take down my notes. You guys are going to have to give me some of that, like that Twitch streamer variance, that deference of like, hey, this guy's trying to do 97 different things. Like on, Twitch, they'll be playing video games. So a lot of things going on. First question, I just saw it in the chat because this is how my mind works. I'm like a squirrel. David Ross in the chat says, what's the logo on your cap? That is Heritage Christian. It's Heritage Christian High School. This is my son's high school baseball team hat. I have a white and blue one somewhere. I like this one better, but yeah, it's a good, clean logo on top of everything. See, this is how my mind works. That's why I tried to avoid the chat, because I'm like a squirrel. But I wanted to talk about this tweet, and I've got to go back and find it because it was from our former producer on the show, Mr. Nick DeLuca. Like I said, you're going to give me a minute while I find this thing. And here you go. This is my man, Nick DeLuca. DeLuca, if you're listening, and if you want to follow him on X, he's a good follow, at the FF Scout _X, at the FF Scout _X. And this goes back to last week when we had all of the footage of rookie mini camp and OTAs and guys in shorts and t-shirts, except Russell Wilson. The most Russell Wilson thing ever of all time. Russell Wilson is out there in like full kit. He's got his pants on. He's got the socks on. There's Tommy DeVito, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart. They're wearing shorts and a t-shirt, but not good old Russ. No. He has to be fully decked out. God love him. But Nick DeLuca said, if you are fading Travis Hunter after seeing 30-second clips of him wearing shorts in May, you never liked him in the first place. Nick, I could not agree more. There was all of this crazy talk about how bad his routes were. I didn't see it. And I mean, now I like Travis Hunter. I think he's the wide receiver one in this class. If you wanted to take Tet McMillan above him because you like what you've seen out of Tet, or you liked him coming into the draft, and now you're trying to, make that decision on draft day, cool. But please, pretty please, listen to Nick. Don't fade him because of something you saw in May at a mini camp. And I'm not going to give him the guy got married. He got married this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and maybe he was distracted. He ran some sloppy routes. He's going to have good days, bad days. All rookies do. I'm not getting too swayed one way or the other. I really like Travis Hunter. And if you like Travis Hunter, you'll continue to draft him where he's been going. And I've seen him in Superflex, tight end premium drafts because, you got to throw Cam Ward in there. I've seen him anywhere from 103 to 106. I almost got him in an industry league, and I'm talking like content creators you all know, good people. I thought he was going to slide to me at the 107. Went right in front of me. Pete Davidson, Rotobahn, sniped me. I like Travis Hunter, but don't let what you see and what you hear right now distract you from the fact that I really like Travis Hunter, and he's wide receiver 1A. I'm still concerned about the number of reps he'll play on defense. I think he's going to have a Devonta Smith type points per game. I think he fits in perfectly into that wide receiver 2 role behind Brian Thomas Jr. But given how thin wide receiver is in this year's draft class, no problem sticking right where I'm at with Travis Hunter, even after seeing what I saw last week. So Nick, I'm not giving this to you. I'm giving this to people because they haven't heard Dana White in a while. And I want to make sure that we don't forget about Uncle Dana.
How fucking stupid you have to be to even think something like that, let alone say it publicly and act like you're fucking serious.
There you go, Uncle Dana. But that was my buddy Nick DeLuca, again, former producer of this show. He did all of the YouTube SEO stuff, and good dude. He's doing his own thing. Please give him a follow. So first of all, I see the chat continues to light up with questions. If you have Dynasty questions, I'm going to get through my sells as fast as possible, and then I'll answer some questions from the chat at the very end. I didn't necessarily go position by position. Some guys I have more on than others, but I will start with the one quarterback that I put on the list. And for me, I'm trying to sell him because actually his best season was 2 years ago. Last year kind of fell off a little bit, and it's Jordan Love. But I do think he's properly valued in terms of rankings. I looked at Player Profiler's Dynasty rankings. You'll hear about the Dynasty Deluxe kit at the end. The rankings are part of that. Player Profiler has him as QB 17 in a startup. I'm totally fine with that. Last year, he played 15 games. He missed 2. He averaged 15.6 points per game last year, but it was a big drop-off. It was a big drop-off from his breakout 2023, where he played all 17 games and scored 18.8 fantasy points per game, and he finished as QB 5. Last year, he finished as QB 17, but I do think there will be that newfound optimism in Jordan Love. My problem with Jordan Love is that I like the guys behind him in the Player Profiler rankings better, because I don't see Jordan Love as a QB1. Most of these guys don't. The cool thing about Jordan Love, if you're on the other side of this equation, is Jordan Love, he finished as QB 5. So he has a top 5 QB finish in his range of outcomes. I agree. But I would rather have the guys just behind him, like Baker Mayfield's just behind him, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff. I would say Baker and Goff are a little bit more safe. I think Dak's a safer player week in, week out. You got to love that they just added George Pickens to the squad, so another weapon for Dak. They got Jake Ferguson. They've added to the running game, so Dak should be really good. I just question, can Jordan Love rekindle what he did 2 years ago? And I don't see it. I didn't love that their wide receiver, like Josh Jacobs, literally come out and said, hey, we don't have a wide receiver 1 on this team. And they went out and drafted Matthew Golden, who I don't see as a wide receiver 1. He's just going to fall in that mix. So I'm not super fond of the weapons. And here's the thing. This is more of a seasonal take than it is a dynasty take. But the Packers play the 6th toughest strength of schedule this year. Really tough strength of schedule. And if you look at the fantasy playoffs, and this is what we're trying to do, right? If you have Jordan Love, you hopefully, maybe you have a bad team, you want to win a championship. Week 15 at Denver. Week 16 at Chicago. Week 17 home to the Raiders. The Ravens. It's not a super easy schedule. I don't love it. I do love the head coach. The one thing I will say about Jordan Love is that I do think Matt LaFleur is a really good head coach. I do think he's a really good play caller. And I now, again, when I say these guys are sells, I also understand there's a real-time scenario where this guy could go back to that QB 5 and I will look like a dummy a year from now. But I would just rather get out of the Jordan Love business. I held on for a long time. Go back 2-3 years listening to this show. I was big on Jordan Love. Thought he was a hold. I thought we had cashed out. I just didn't like it. It was a regression. That's the word I would use. He regressed too much for me last year. Maybe he can progress back to 2023. I don't see it. That's my one QB sell in Dynasty right now. I gave you some names. If you're looking to put a package together and maybe you're wanting the better skill position guy, you might be able to put on your salesman cap and be able to ask, hey, can I send, I'm making all this up on the fly. Can I send Brian Thomas Jr. and Jordan Love, and I want to get Brian Thomas Jr. Can I send A.J. Brown? Can I send A.J. Brown and Jordan Love for Dak Prescott and Brian Thomas Jr.? I don't know if you can, as hot as Brian Thomas Jr.'s name has been this offseason, but that's what I'm kind of trying to do. I think you can maybe sell the Jordan Love 2023 season. You can blame last year on the fact that he played a lot of the year injured. And that is true. That is part of the varying factor. He was injured for he got injured in the first game. I think it was an ankle when they played the Eagles down in Brazil, and he missed one other game. Pretty tough guy. I don't know. I see him as a sell. That's what I'm looking to get out of him. Got a couple of running backs for you. First one should not surprise you. This is why I love our player profiler extended family. Brittany does all of the thumbnails. If you're watching this live on YouTube, or if you saw the thumbnail on Twitter when I posted the link to ask questions, I was like, hey, Brittany, we're doing sells this week. We did buys last week. I didn't even tell her. And she sent me 3 thumbnails that included the guy who was my personal number one sell of this entire show. And I really wanted to get Jerry's input on this. And maybe we'll do Jerry's sells next week, since we weren't able to get this thing locked up. But the first one she sent me, Brittany sent me Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving is my number one sell. And I will say, I don't hate where he's ranked. I've seen him higher in some places. So Bucky Irving, last year's RB13 on the entire season. That's weeks 1 through 18. It's a borderline RB1. I can get behind that. On Player Profiler, Bucky Irving is listed as running back 11 in a dynasty startup. And he's ahead of guys like RJ Harvey. He's ahead of guys like Kenneth Walker. He's ahead of James Cook. He's ahead of Kyren Williams. And then I just wanted to see what some other sites had Bucky's dynasty value at. Fantasy Pros, they had him as RB9. So kind of, we'll just say 10. But my thing is can Bucky Irving do it again without Liam Cohen? I'm not saying, and I know the Podfather hates coach-centric based analysis, but it's part of the reason. I mean, you have to look at that. Situation matters. Coaches matter. Play calling matters. And it's part of the reason why I'm just a little nervous about Detroit. No Ben Johnson. It's the reason why you can be optimistic about the Bears. Ben Johnson's calling plays for the Bears now. But with Bucky, can he do it again without Liam Cohen? You still got Rashad White there. You still have Sean Taylor there. And Sean Tucker. Sorry. Sean Taylor was the former safety for the then Redskins. Sean Tucker is the third running back there in Tampa Bay. That's a bit rich for me. I would rather have like all of the guys that I mentioned, and he's just ahead of Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor's RB9, Bucky's RB11. If I could trade those guys, if I could do like a 1-for-1 swap, I'm in. I'm not going to go as far. I'm not going to drive the RJ Harvey crazy narrative to the moon, but all those guys behind him on both Fantasy Pros and Player Profiler. RJ Harvey, Kenneth Walker, even James Cook. I'll talk about Kyren Williams in a second. This is how my mind works, so you're going to have to go with me. But, man, if I could get Kenneth Walker plus something and I can send Bucky Irving, I'm in. Kenneth Walker's a stud. And the reason why I like Kenneth Walker a lot this year, and this can also be if you're drafting on Fast Draft. I don't know what his ADP is because I can only do so much. I can't be pulling up ADPs as I'm doing this, but Kenneth Walker is in a contract year. I love rookie. Well, I guess they're not rookies, but running backs on rookie contracts that are in the final year of their rookie deal. Most of these guys aren't Bijan Robinson. Most of these guys aren't Saquon Barkley. They didn't get the top 10, top 15 rookie contract where they've made all these millions. They have been on a second round, a third round. They've made some money, but not that life-changing, life-altering money that happens if you get that second contract. It's Kenneth Walker. He's in the mid-teens for most dynasty ranking services. If I can get him, and maybe you haven't had your rookie draft yet, if I could get Kenneth Walker in like the 205 for Bucky Irving, Bucky Irving's gone. I like Bucky Irving. I think he's fine. Bucky Irving is actually on the flip side of Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving is the reason why I don't overly get concerned about performance metrics at the combine. Bucky Irving, pull him up on Player Profiler. If you're not driving a vehicle, literally go to Player Profiler, pull up Bucky Irving, and his performance metrics from the combine, no good. But there's a difference between a really good athlete and a really good football player. So that aside, again, I'm off of him because I think he's a good running back. And if you maybe drafted him as a rookie and you got him in the second or third round of your rookie draft and you're contending, maybe you don't want to move him. He's just the kind of guy. He was drafted as the 25th pick in the 4th round of his rookie class. I also looked at some wide receivers in that same draft range. Two guys that came to mind when I was using the player profiler dynasty tools. Zay Flowers and Devonta Smith are both really close to Bucky Irving. So maybe you're a really good running back drafter, or someone who drafts like me and like draft running backs, trade for wide receivers. Maybe you're sitting on a large share of running backs, but maybe your wide receiver room is a little thin, or maybe you're in a format where you start 3 wide receivers and you want to get some wide receiver depth. Guys that, like I said, I was looking at: Zay Flowers, Devonta Smith. Those are ideal trade targets. I think Zay Flowers has wide receiver 1, top 12 at the position for a season upside. Devonta Smith is always going to be, because of A.J. Brown, he's always going to be in that 14 to 18 range. But that's a really good range. And the guy's been super consistent as a pro. So I'm getting out of the Bucky Irving business. I don't blame you if you want to stay in the Bucky Irving business, but the Liam Cohen thing was enough to sway me. Not being a great athlete, it's, again, not the end-all be-all. He performed through it, competition at the position, and we know running back is very replaceable. But I did want to mention, because I mentioned Kyren Williams, which made me think of Jacquz Hunter. Guys, we can't do this again. I'm going to give you some more sells, but this is a little tangent, a little aside. You're cool to be excited about Jacquz Hunter. Don't blame me at all. You should be excited. He's a tremendous athlete, fast guy. The tweets floating around of the Rams draft room when they were able to get Hunter, I get it. But we learned last year, if you're drafting Hunter in your rookie drafts, that's awesome. 100% awesome. If you're drafting him as like in the 6th round, if he's still there, maybe the 5th round of a fast draft origins draft, I'm cool with it there. But Sean McVay, it's the final year of his rookie deal too, by the way, Kyren Williams. They are going to ride Kyren Williams like a broke horse until he absolutely breaks down. Now, if you want to get ahead of Jacquz Hunter and get him for next year, big thumbs up. Smart play. I love it. But please don't be the person who's trading for him or overdrafting him because you think he's going to take Kyren Williams' lunch money. Kyren Williams is the dude in that offense, at least for 2025. I don't think Blake Corum's any good. But last year we were doing the same thing with Blake Corum. Oh, he's so good. He helped Michigan win a national championship. He's going to, and everybody was like, except for me and Jerry. Me and Jerry have always been pretty solidly behind Kyren here at the Dynasty WarZone. Just don't fall for it again. I want you to be excited about Hunter. I don't want you to go to the moon with Hunter. I see the questions are filling up. I'm going to try to get through some more so I can save 25 to 30 minutes for all the questions coming into the live chat. This next one, not hard. I think this team's going to be bad, and I think he's really good, but I think the situation of the schedule, I think the way the play calling is going to go, additional competition, injury history, you smush it all together. I'm moving off of Devon Achane. Awesome talent. Love the speed. I mean, he absolutely set the world on fire last year, especially early. Averaged 17.6 PPR points per game and finished the season as the RB5. But the RB5 is where I'm concerned. He is currently going ahead of guys like Breece Hall, Travion Henderson, and then Jonathan Taylor. I don't know who's Travion Williams. I'm making people up because I'm trying to do too many things at once. Big thing for me is Alexander Mattison is not brought in to take away touches, but he'll take away some. Jalen Wright going to be involved. And then a rookie that like I'm stashing in the back super late rounds of my rookie drafts, the ones that I have left, is Ollie Gordon. You know, I like reading, and I've always recommended this for the Dynasty WarZone listeners. So I have my normal Twitter handle at DWZ Memphis, but I have a second Twitter handle I never tweet from. And all that I follow is Adam Schefter and every NFL beat reporter from ESPN, as well as that city's local paper. So like Stephen Holder is an example of the guy from Indianapolis. I know him top of my head. Very good follow. And what I'm gathering from the Miami Dolphins beat is that they could try to slow it down this year and try to pound the ball more, which you would say would be good for Devon Achane. I just don't know that he can handle that value. I mean, excuse me, handle that workload. I don't think 78 catches is repeatable. I think the quarterback play will be better. Hopefully Tua can stay healthy. And 12 total TDs also doesn't feel repeatable. It's not, if you're investing in him in a seasonal league, I get it. Totally get it if you're wanting to do him as a hero RB. But I don't think this time next year, even though next year he'll be going into his contract year, I don't think Devon Achane is going to be as worth as much in Dynasty. And again, if I can get Breece Hall, Travion Henderson, Jonathan Taylor, and something on top because I'm selling the name of Devon Achane and his perceived role, I'm all about it. And the same thing, same scenario as when I said Bucky. When, if you're looking to move a running back because you're heavy at running back and you need some receivers, again, Player Profiler Dynasty rankings, Dynasty Deluxe, check that out. Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and A.J. Brown are all wide receivers in the mix around where you'd be getting Devon Achane in a startup. And the reason why I tell you where they're going, like in terms of rankings, whatever draft calculator you use, that's going to base it off ADP Dynasty rankings. So I wanted to say similar. I don't want to tell you to go try and trade Devon Achane for CD Lamb and have you get laughed out of your group chat. That would be crazy. I look for players of comparable level, and I try to move on. All right. I see the chat's filling up, so I'm going to start jumping in. I'm going to jump into a question now. This one's from Jerry Sinclair. It said, "Would you rather have Jerry and the 101 or me?" That's Memphis. You clearly want Jerry and the 101. As a matter of fact, you just want Jerry. Jerry's the real 101 of this show. He is, in fact, the star. All right, I'm gonna blast through several. I won't go as in detailed as some of the others, but Rome Odunze. I have been skeptical. Now, to me and Jerry's credit, I don't think that's proper English. To Jerry and I's credit, we talked about the whole thing coming up on Rome Odunze was going to be this year's JSN. Now, Jerry and I said this back in January. And sure enough, it's May, and this training camp OTA footage is coming out, and I'm already hearing the Rome Odunze drumbeat. I laid this out on Twitter the other day. It's not a talent thing. I think if you're investing in Rome Odunze, you're hoping to catch Mike Evans type lightning in a bottle. Because DJ Moore is there, Cole Kmet's there, Colston Loveland's there. They drafted Luther Burden in the second. I'm not going to get hit with the cliche alert. Just a lot of dudes in that offense. And I know, and someone on Twitter did say, and it was a good point, that, targets are earned, and he very well could. He very well could earn more targets. I just don't see a lot of volume here. So again, Mike Williams has always in his career scored without a ton of volume. Maybe Odunze could be the same. Guys going around him again. He is wide receiver 19 at Player Profiler. Just ahead of him is Rashee Rice. If I could do a 1-for-1 Rashee Rice for Rome Odunze, I'm going to do it. And you might say, well, what about they just drafted a wide receiver and, Hollywood Brown's back and Xavier Worthy's there and they're still trying. I get it. But I know what I saw to start the season last year, and it was the Rashee Rice show, and everybody else was playing for scraps, even Travis Kelce. He got hurt, missed the rest of the year. He has looked great. And I'm not talking about running routes on air. I'm talking about just like physically great. He's moving well. He's had almost a full 12 months by the time the season starts to recoup. And Rome Odunze is also going just ahead of like Zay Flowers and Devonta Smith. I would rather invest in one of those guys, a guy like Zay Flowers, who could be his team's wide receiver 1, or a guy like Devonta Smith, who is the clear 2. Could this take blow up in my face? 100%. Could you guys be forwarding this to fantasy receipts? Also 100%. But I'm not in. I'm not paying the current price. If you can get a deal, get a deal. If not, moving on. Isaiah Likely, he's tight end 11 and going ahead of Mark Andrews. I cannot figure that out. So I jumped in, did a little research. Now, if you just go by a percentage base, Likely and Andrews played almost exactly the same number of snaps last year. They were both in that 61 to 63% range. And that was with Andrews was listed as playing as all 17 games. Likely is playing 15 of the 17 games. And then the targets were very similar. Likely 15 games, 58 targets. Andrews, 17 games, 69 targets. So why is Likely going so far ahead? I think that would have been justified, and it was good speculation around the NFL draft when there were rumors and talk of maybe Mark Andrews gets traded on draft night. It was the same thing in Philadelphia with Dallas Goedert, but Mark Andrews is there. The Isaiah Likely breakout can't happen with Mark Andrews there. I will say this. I don't love the wide receivers 2 through 4 in Baltimore. Never been a Rashad Bateman guy. DeAndre Hopkins is, he's just there at this point. Solid veteran, used to be awesome, but not anymore. Unless you think this offense can be what the early 2010s New England Patriots with Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, I can't invest in Isaiah Likely at the tight end 10 cost. Some other guys, I'm going to save 2 guys for the end because they would be situational type sells. You knew that I was going to say Davante Adams. If you came into this show after listening to last week's show and you didn't think I was going to say Davante Adams, you have not listened to this show. And it's nothing against Davante Adams, but I got a pop quiz for you. And if you want something to do because you're bored on a Monday, Memorial Day, go look at the wide receiver 2 under Sean McVay. The wide receiver 2 does not eat. They just don't. They have pockets of time. Cooper Kupp did not leave much for Robert Woods. And I don't think Puka Nacua is going to leave a bunch for Davante Adams. Could be wrong. Don't get it. 31, almost 32 years old on his 4th team in 5 years. He's a good veteran presence. I think he's more about them winning a championship than you winning a dynasty championship. And again, if you're looking for something to look at, go look at Sean McVay's run to pass ratio. He already runs way more than you think that he will. And Puka Nacua. I don't think that Davante Adams can have anywhere near the season that people think he's going to have. And this very well, because what you're selling right now is you're selling the hype. You're selling the offense. You're selling the hype. I'm out. I've been out. I've been out since the signing. I think this is a final parting gift from the dynasty gods for you to get out from under Davante Adams, but I am moving on from Mr. Davante Adams. And then another guy, Courtland Sutton. And the problem with Courtland Sutton is he's never carried that name value. I threw him on here. He has some touchdown regression coming, but they didn't add a bunch in the offense. They did add Evan Ingram, so that'll siphon off some targets. I think Sutton's going to be a lot like these next 2 guys that I have on my list. And they're guys that you're going to have to sell in season when they're actually putting up fantasy points. And that's going to be Courtland Sutton. And then I threw in there James Conner, Aaron Jones. Both guys who, these are guys I'm looking to sell weeks 3 through 5. They should be healthy. They should be the lead back in their offense. They should be shining. They should be scoring fantasy points. That's the time to move them. And I'm going to tell you to try, and you won't necessarily get it then, but a nice thing to try to get is, and this happened to me, and I heard it on another podcast. Rich Dotson from the Dynasty Nerds got me. He got me in a deal for my 2027 first, and I was like, that's 2 years away. I'll recoup another one, but the 2027 class is a really sought after class. You have and I don't know everybody's names. I learn the college guys as the pro season ends is when I start that research. But I know you got the kid from Ohio State. I know you got the kid from Alabama. There's a lot of talk that if you play Superflex, tight end premium, that Arch Manning may not. Everybody's like, could Arch Manning be the 101 next year? It's like, could Arch Manning go back to Texas and make $10 million and not have to worry about going to a team he doesn't want to go to? Don't know, but in season, if you can move any of these guys and you can get someone not necessarily thinking on their feet in season, harder to get a 26 first than it will be to get a 27 first. So just wanted to throw that out there and share one of my lessons. So what I'm going to do is I am going to let you guys hear a quick word about Dynasty Deluxe. But while I'm doing that, if you want to start putting more questions in the chat, I've got about 20-ish minutes before I got to get out of here. But I'll answer the Dynasty questions already in the chat and many more right after this.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams. And then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs. And then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide, $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to all in and get $25 off.
There you go. And the promo code for both that and Fast Draft is WarZone. Like I said, I love the player profiler tools. I mean, there's everything that you could ever need, including a trade calculator. And trade calculators, you can take them or leave them. But one thing I will say is it gives you a starting point. Now, don't be the guy or lady who takes a screenshot of a trade calculator and send it to, the other team and say, hey, you're winning this trade. Don't be that guy. Don't be that lady. But the Dynasty Deluxe it's really good for you. All right, get into some of these questions here. We'll start by, where can I get that hat? You know what? I can't do it in this week's show because this week's show is already on there, but I can put it in the link for next week's show because my son's baseball team does have a team store, and you, in fact, could order this hat. Patty Mills said, hey, let's still blame Jerry. I'm fine with that. Always blame Jerry. All right. And then let's get into a real fantasy question right here. And this one is from 2 Picks Ready at all times. Are you excited to draft QJ? And initially, I'll be honest, the first thought that came to mind was Quentin Johnston, but it's Quinshon Judkins at 7. Or do you prefer to trade back and get a Harvey, a Caleb Johnson, or a Colston Loveland? Man, that is a really good question. I think if you happen to be drafting there and you truly believe that you can win this year, like maybe you finished in the playoffs last year and you had some bad luck, ran into like a huge monster game from somebody and you got beat when you shouldn't have, and you're looking to win now. If you can't trade back a couple of picks, or because every league has some Ohio State fans, it has Cleveland Brown fans, especially if you play in leagues with the Dynasty nerds. Those guys are fans of both. And while I like Quinshon Judkins long term, you're going to have to temper expectations in 2025. The team is going to be bad. They have one of the worst Vegas total win-loss records that you can, I think it's like 5.5, not super good. And teams that are behind, they don't pound the rock. And if Judkins is not overly involved in the passing game, which I don't know that he will, maybe he will, but you've got Dylan Sampson there. You've got Jerome Ford still there. So while I like Judkins long-term, I would rather have a guy like Harvey. And if it's tight end premium, I have no problem if you go Loveland, or if you even wanted to go Tyler Warren. I'm a Tyler Warren guy, have been the whole draft. I think both situations for Warren and Loveland are equally murky in that I think the target distribution in Chicago, I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about Rome Odunze, the target distribution is going to be very wide. So that's my one concern with Loveland. And then my concern with Warren is quarterback play. But yes, if you're at the 107, for me, I would love to go back to 109, pick up let's say you're at 107 and you can get 109 and 209 for the 107, because they have to get Judkins, or maybe there's someone else there that they want, and then you can slide into an RJ Harvey. That's a huge win, because then you could potentially add a Terrence Ferguson if it's tight end premium. You could add I've not seen Luther Burden fall to the mid-second too much. He's been kind of like 201 to 205. But yeah, I would love to have two players as opposed to one player. So again, good question. But yeah, I'd have to be the right type of situation to be pushing the button on Quinshot Judkins. Someone I loved, but the situation I don't love. Nick D'Alba wants to know if we should sell James Cook. You know what? I'm totally fine if you can sell James Cook. He's going right around, this is top of my head, RB 12, 13 in a startup. And if you could get like the pick that becomes RJ Harvey, or RJ Harvey straight up in a dynasty league, I'm in. James Cook has done really well. I think James Cook's going to do really, really well this year. Just if you like, I'm big into strength of schedule as a thing. And the Bills have one of the easiest strength of schedules of any team in the league. And I think you're going to see a healthy dose of James Cook. He's going to be incentivized to perform because it's a rookie contract year. Basically, he'll be a free agent next year. So he's trying to get paid. He's already mentioned he wants $15 million a year. James, who doesn't? I would love $15 million a year. But yeah, I'm totally fine with that. And like I said, if I can get into an RJ Harvey, if I can get into a Caleb Johnson plus, the only way that I'm not moving James Cook is if I'm contending. Because like I just said, I think he's really, really going to do well in that format. All right, I want to go to David Ross. David asked earlier about my hat. Also, big fan of this hat. Yeah, Heritage. I'm going to tell Coach Ambrose that the Eagles hat is very popular on the Dynasty Warzone. David wants to know JSN, Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, or Omarion Hampton in a 12-team full PPR start 10, including 3 wide receiver format. I think outside of the Podfather, and well, let's be fair, he owns Player Profiler. So when you go to the Player Profiler and you look at like the rankings, if you have Dynasty Deluxe, you'll see that Omarion Hampton in the far right-hand column, it has whose guy that is. This is Billy Muzio's guy, and this is Bradley Stalder's guy. The Podfather's guy is Omarion Hampton. That would have, if I could have had my choice, that would have been my guy. But he wins, obvious reasons. I like Omarion Hampton, but for someone who's, I don't want to say a naysayer, but I've always been on the, like if he was like a Vegas prop, like an over-under prop, Jackson Smith and Jigba, I would have always been the guy betting the under. And it's not that I'm anti-JSN, but I've never been super hype. But in this case, given the formats, 12 teams, you have to start 3 wide receivers. Now think about that. That's 36 wide receivers started every week. And if you're starting 10, I'm going to assume it's super flex because it's a 12-team league and you're a good American on Memorial Day. So I hope you're playing super flex. So you've got 2 quarterbacks. You've got, let's say, 2 running backs. That's 4. And then 3 wide receivers. That's 7. Plus you have 3 additional flex spots. In this case, in this format, I want JSN. I do like Hampton. I do think he's going to have a good rookie year. And I do think that the Chargers are going to run the shit out of the ball. I am a little concerned. I've always liked Justin Herbert. I will always like Justin Herbert. I think he's a good football player. But I think if you know anything about Jim Harbaugh, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Now, if you told me that Justin Herbert has a season where he throws, like last year, I think he only had 4 or 5 interceptions. If you tell me he has a very efficient season and he may throw 28 touchdowns or 30 touchdowns and a handful of picks, I would believe you. The problem is you're not going to get that gaudy wide receiver number. So I do think Hampton, and you didn't put it in there, David. So I'm going to assume that it's not a points per carry league, but if it was a 0.25 or a 0.5 per carry, it would be Hampton all the way. Outside of that, every other format, and especially the format in which you listed, I would go with JSN in that particular scenario. Jeff, D'Agostino, he said he moved Bucky everywhere pre-draft and early season, a 26 first and 325 seconds, and another league, a 25 first, a second, and Cedric Tillman. By the way, I mentioned this last week. Cedric Tillman, low-key guy I'm interested in. I really do, especially if Shedeur becomes the starter, and I think he'll start like Jerry and I. If he starts one game, I beat Jerry in a bet, right? But I think Shedeur is going to start in the neighborhood of half the season. I don't think you see Dylan Gabriel at all. I like Joe Flacco, but you're really hoping in Cleveland. And so I like Cedric Tillman a bunch. I like all those trades. I like a 26 first and 325 seconds. If you have 325 seconds and they can range from 201 to 212, you picked up three really good players, one of which could potentially have been a running back like a Caleb Johnson, and you could get those points back and then some. And then a 26 first, we know that in season, you can flip that for a different player. Then a 25 first, I'd have to know who you got. Like if you got RJ Harvey, a second, and Cedric Tillman for Bucky Irving, I'm firmly behind that move as well. All right, and then I got a couple to round this thing out from my boy, the Fantasy Plumber. He said, what is your, first of all, he's pushing back on Zay Flowers ain't a one. He's a one in Baltimore, and we'll say that. But the Plumber wants to know, what's your confidence level in Steph Diggs as a year one competitive buy? You know, I got to think he's going dirt cheap. If I can throw if your rookie draft has not went down yet and you can throw a 25 third round pick out there and get Steph Diggs, especially like that format that we just talked about with David, where you must start three wide receivers. Yeah. Stephon Diggs is going to be okay. No real target competition. I mean, who would you consider the I won't even say wide receiver one, the pass catcher one. And the reason why I phrase it that way is because I think the pass catcher one prior to Steph Diggs arriving was Hunter Henry. And now Steph Diggs is there. I mean, coming off of the ACL, he looked really sharp. Again, I'm not looking for catches on air. I'm looking at, do they look athletic? I thought Diggs looked really, really good. So, yeah, if you can get him super dirt cheap and in the right format, I am 100% in. And I'm in on Steph Diggs. And then the last one, the Plumber, I was talking about James Cook. Cook's touchdown numbers are crazy. He went for a touchdown on every 40 touches last year. So every 40 times he touched the ball, and it was maybe I'm misreading this, and he was like 14 last year. So like every 14 times he touched the football. I don't know, but I do agree that James Cook was on the very much the right side of touchdown variance in 2025. Well, gang, I got to say, we got a lot further into this show than I thought I was going to get going by myself. You know, you never know what you got till it's gone. I miss Jerry. Jerry will be back next week. He was in the chat. And we'll get his sells and then we'll also get his take on my sells. But that's one thing I want to do. I see a lot of the normal people who listen, or I guess watch on YouTube during the show. We're going to do a lot more. We're going to do a lot more Q&As. We'll still have a topic. We'll still have things to talk about, sells, buys, camp news, trades we're making, things going on in our Patreon, but we'll continue to do Q&As. I like this. I like that the format of helping you guys out, because you guys help us out. Remember, if you're a fast drafter, or you've never been a fast drafter, more importantly, it's the top thing linked in both the YouTube show description, and when you hear this audio version, it's the top thing going to be listed in the audio podcast description. Sign up, use promo code WarZone, make that deposit match, $50 up. That's the match. But here's the thing. If you live in a state like me, like Indiana, and you can't quote unquote play yet, then you can still play in the Flex 4 free game. There's a free version. You sign up, you play. And when your state becomes legal, if you were to win in that free contest, those winnings would convert to actual bucks once your state goes live. I'm lucky in that my son is now going to the University of Cincinnati. Ohio is Fast Draft. So like we're going there next week for his orientation. I'm going to let my wife do most of the, taking him around campus. Here's what my dorm, and I'm just going to be blasting Fast Draft apps, fast and furious. A couple of weeks, I'm going down to Georgia for a baseball tournament. We play 1 game a day, 2 hours a day. That leaves me 22 hours to get a lot of drafting in. If you love to draft and you love to do it quickly, or you just obsessive compulsive and want to do it, that is Fast Draft. But that's the show. Not the normal show, but I like doing it. I like talking Dynasty, and I appreciate all of your guys' support. So thank you for sitting through with just me for 50 minutes. I'll be back here next week with that man named Jerry. But until then, you guys have a great week. Again, thank you to all the veterans, and see you next Sunday.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.